This video is an instruction manual for the Western Washington University E-Tech Composite Autoclave. This autoclave is located in the Composites Layup Room in E-Tech 113. This machine can be used by any current E-Tech 434 Advanced Composites student or by students who have already been trained in the use of the autoclave for any pre-approved project. Use of this machine must be approved by an E-Tech professor. If running this machine for the first time, a check must be done by a professor to get approval to start the cycle. The autoclave has a work envelope of 12 inches by 12 inches with a depth of about 30 inches. All parts in their bagging must fit into this envelope with adequate room for air to flow. There are a few safety aspects that must be addressed before using the autoclave. First is personal protective equipment. Be sure to wear gloves when handling uncured resin, and safety glasses must be worn at all times. This machine can be relatively safe when set up properly or extremely catastrophic if not. There are machine safety considerations to keep in mind when using the autoclave. The first is to close the autoclave door and tighten the bolts to the specified torque. The door must withstand the vessel pressure and can only do so if closed properly. The other aspect of this machine that can be very dangerous is the liquid nitrogen tanks. There are 3 valves to know on the tanks: a pressure building valve, a liquid valve, and a gas valve. If the liquid valve is opened, it will pour liquid nitrogen all over you in the lab. Do not open this valve. If anything catastrophic happens, be sure to hit the emergency stop button. The materials needed in this lab are hot gloves, located in the PET thermoforming lab. Free coat mold release, located in the flammability cabinet in the new composites room. Prepreg. The prepreg is located in the 3 freezers along the wall of the new composites room. After spring 2013, the prepreg will be stored in the walk-in freezer behind the PET labs. The peel ply and perforated barrier can be found in the PET storage room. If the door is locked, then find Mike to unlock it for you. The bleeder, breather, and vacuum bag can be found on a fabric cart in the new composites lab. The aluminum bridge tooling is located on a cart to the left of the autoclave. The tour bags are placed underneath a table in front of the autoclave in the composite layup room. The high-temp vacuum sealant tape can be found in drawers located in the composites layup room. The torque wrench is located next to the autoclave. The cure cycle binder is located in E-Tech 107. Be sure to return it when you're done using it. This section applies to flat panels only. Once your kit has been cut out using the prepreg in the freezers, obtain the tour bag that fits your geometry. Open up the bag and clean the surface of the flat plate with acetone. Then, using masking tape, tape off the edges of the tool following the engraved border. Retrieve the free coat mold release and, following the directions on the can, coat the tool outlined by the masking tape. Allow the mold release to dry and then lay up the plies on the tool. The next step is to add the bagging layers. Cut out the following items to the size of the engraved tooling border and lay them up in this order: peel ply, bleeder, perforated barrier, breather, and release bag. Make sure that there is a hole cut in the corner of the release bag so that the vacuum port comes in contact with the breather. When all the layers are complete, close the tour bag, making sure that there is no bagging material under the tour bag seal. This section applies to a 3-dimensional part, such as an I-beam. The first step is to select the desired tooling and obtain the free coat mold release. Following the directions on the free coat can, coat the tooling with the mold release. After allowing the mold release to dry, lay up the plies on the tooling. The next step is to wrap the bridge in peel ply, then bleeder, perforated barrier, breather, and finally the bag. Make sure to envelope bag the part, and before sealing the bag with sealant tape, place the bottom half of a vacuum port in the bag located off of the surface of the part. Cut a small hole in the bag directly above the bottom half of the port and insert the top port and twist clockwise until it tightens down. The autoclave is controlled via the computer console to the left of the autoclave. The interface has 8 tabs. The first tab is the overview. This tab shows the status of the autoclave and its cycle. From this tab, you can turn on and off the fan and vacuum pump, start and stop the cycle, and visualize the autoclave controls during a cycle, as well as total cycle time. The second tab is Program Setup. This tab allows you to customize the autoclave cycle to the resin used, found in the Cure Cycle book. The Trending tab shows the autoclave trends for vessel pressure, vessel temperature. Use the magnifying cursor to zoom in on parts of the cycle. The Alarms tab displays current alarms as well as alarm history. From this page you can also silence the audio alarm. There are 4 major items that must be checked in order to run the autoclave. These 4 things are power, water, air, and nitrogen. Make sure that these 4 items have been turned on or opened before running the cycle. To turn on power to the autoclave, there is a little switch and a big switch. These switches are located on the front of the machine. Both of these switches must be on in order for the autoclave to run and to have communication with the computer control unit. Next, open the water valve located on the right side of the machine on the wall. Next, open the air valve on the left side of the autoclave. The next step is to open the nitrogen valve on the tank. The tank that is being used is designated by the arrow on the manifold. Open the valve on the tank for the nitrogen gas. Close the vent bypass valve by turning it all the way to the right. Open the vent flow control by turning it all the way to the left. Next, turn on the vacuum pump and the fan using the computer interface. Open the autoclave door, place part in the cavity, and connect the vacuum line to your port. Shut the door and bolt it closed using the torque wrench set at 246 foot-pounds and following the bolt order listed numerically on the door. Once all those steps have been completed, the cycle can begin. Press the Cycle Start button on the computer interface. Once your part cycle has completed, there will be a Cycle Completed notification window on the computer interface. Acknowledge this notification and then check the vessel pressure in 2 places: the computer autoclave interface and the pressure indicator on the autoclave. Both of these pressures must be 0 psi. Open the vent bypass valve to relieve any excess pressure. Turn the vacuum dial to the off position on the front of the autoclave. Open the autoclave doors using the torque wrench, following the numbers on the bolts. Use hot gloves when removing the part from the autoclave, as the tooling may still be very hot. To shut down the autoclave, follow the same procedure as you did to start it up, but in the reverse order. Turn off the vacuum valve on the front of the autoclave. Turn off the vacuum pump on the computer controls. Turn off the fan on the computer controls. Turn off the nitrogen valve on the tank. Turn off the water. Turn off the air. Turn off both power switches. Turn the torque power down on the torque wrench. Close the wood keyboard door flap and swing plastic sheet flap over the plexiglass computer station. And make sure to clean up all areas that you worked in.